You can photograph gardens at any time of year, but most look their best in the summer when the majority of the flowers are in full bloom. This bed in my local botanical garden is looking fantastic, and I'm going to show you a trick for getting a picture that crams the colour into the frame. There are two standard approaches to photographing flowers. You can get out your macro lens and come in really close to shoot the individual specimens. Or you can tackle the garden like a landscape and use a wide-angle lens to show the whole planting scheme as the garden designer intended it. But I'm going to take an alternative approach and take a long view with a telephoto lens. Let's see how it's done. The advantage of using a telephoto lens is it allows you to shoot from further away. This changes the perspective of the scene so that flowers at different distances from the camera appear closer together. If I use a wider setting on this Nikon 18-300mm super zoom, I'm just a couple of feet away from the flowers. Every bloom looks spaced out, and I can even see the soil between the plants. But if I take a few steps back and use a longer telephoto setting, the perspective changes and the flower heads appear more packed into the picture. With the longer focal length, I don't get much depth of field, and the flowers in front and behind my point of focus will appear out of focus to various degrees, but this artistic blur helps create a more colourful composition. Make sure you choose the focus point manually. Go to the settings menu and in the autofocus options, set the AF area mode to single point. You then move the autofocus point you actually use as you frame up your shot using the cursor controls on the back of the camera. Avoid using the middle point to ensure the focus for the shot is dynamically off-center. You can use a tripod, but to be honest, as flowers move in the breeze, you need a relatively fast shutter speed anyway, so I'm taking an untethered handheld approach. I'm using aperture priority mode and will pick an aperture and ISO that gets me a shutter speed that is 1/500th of a second or faster. In these blue sky conditions, this means an aperture f/5.6 and an ISO of 200. I will need to adjust the brightness of some shots, however, using exposure compensation. White flowers will usually need a setting of +1 EV, whilst dark backgrounds may well need a -1 stop of exposure compensation. But as the flowers won't move between shots, I can simply take a shot, review it on screen and see what works. An advantage of this narrow angle view of the garden is that by moving just a few steps and aiming your lens at a different flower, you get a whole range of summary shots from just one location.